There will come a day when life tests you in ways you never expected. A day when chaos erupts around you, when the words of others cut deep, when circumstances spiral out of control. In that moment, you will face a choice. One that defines not just that day, but who you are. Will you react blindly, letting your emotions dictate your actions? Or will you respond with wisdom, with patience, with unshakable calm? Most people live like leaves in the wind, tossed around by their impulses, controlled by anger, fear, and frustration. But you are not most people. You have the power to master your mind, to become the stillness in the storm. The moment something happens, there is an instinctual urge to react immediately. It is built into human nature, a survival mechanism that helped our ancestors in moments of danger. But in today's world, most of the threats we perceive are not real dangers to our survival. They are insults, inconveniences, disappointments, and unexpected events. When we react without thinking, we surrender control. We become puppets to our emotions, letting anger, frustration, or fear dictate our actions. A sharp word spoken in haste, a reckless decision made in a moment of panic. These things create unnecessary suffering, but there is a way to rise above this. That way is simple yet difficult. Pause. In the brief moment before action there is power. It is in this moment that you decide whether you will be ruled by impulse or by wisdom. If you take that moment, even for a single breath, you create space between stimulus and response, and in that space lies your freedom. The person who masters this moment masters themselves. The world may push, provoke, or challenge them, but they do not give in to blind reaction. They stand firm, grounded, and in full control of their actions. Pausing before you act does not mean suppressing emotions. It does not mean denying your feelings or pretending that you are unaffected. It means acknowledging the emotions but not letting them take over. When anger flares up, recognize it. Feel it fully, but do not act on it immediately. Take a breath, let the intensity settle, and then decide how to respond. The same applies to fear, sadness, and even excitement. Any emotion, when acted upon without thought, can lead to regret. A joyful impulse can make you promise things you cannot fulfill. A moment of fear can make you abandon something valuable. But when you pause, you give yourself a chance to see the bigger picture. You allow yourself to ask, is this reaction serving me? Will this action bring peace or more chaos? Most of the time, a reaction based on pure impulse does not serve you. It serves your fleeting emotions, which will pass, leaving behind consequences that may not be so easily undone. The ability to pause is not weakness, it is a sign of deep strength. In relationships, this principle is even more important. Words spoken in anger can never be taken back. How many friendships have been destroyed because of a single heated exchange? How many families have drifted apart because of reactions instead of responses? When emotions run high, the temptation to react is overwhelming. But the ability to pause and think before speaking is the foundation of strong relationships. Imagine someone insults you or says something unfair. If you react immediately, you become their puppet. You let them control your emotions, making you act in a way that serves their purpose, not yours. But if you pause, even for a moment, you reclaim your power. You give yourself time to consider, does this deserve my energy? More often than not, silence is the strongest response. A well-thought-out reply is far more powerful than a quick, thoughtless retort. The one who pauses commands the situation. The one who reacts loses control. Beyond words, this principle applies to actions as well. When something goes wrong, the urge to panic is natural. A sudden problem at work, an unexpected expense, a betrayal, these things shake the mind. But rushing into action without thinking often makes things worse. The person who reacts without thought tries to fix everything immediately, grasping at solutions in desperation. But the person who pauses takes a step back. They let the initial wave of emotion settle before making a decision, and in that stillness, clarity emerges. A calm mind sees solutions that a frantic mind overlooks. It recognizes what is within control and what is not. Instead of wasting energy on things that cannot be changed, it directs energy where it truly matters. The ability to pause does not mean inaction. It means choosing the right action at the right time. Training the mind to pause requires practice. It does not happen overnight. The impulse to react is strong, deeply ingrained from years of habitual responses. But like any skill, self-control strengthens with use. Start small. When someone cuts you off in traffic, pause before honking or shouting. When you receive a frustrating email, pause before responding. When someone criticizes you, pause before defending yourself. These little moments add up. With time, the pause becomes natural, an instinct of its own. Eventually, you will find that nothing can shake you easily. Insults lose their sting. Frustrations lose their power. You remain steady, no longer a prisoner of external events. The world may still be chaotic, but inside there is unshakable calm. And that is true mastery of the mind. Emotions are a natural part of being human. They rise and fall like waves, sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming. They can bring joy and excitement, but they can also bring anger, fear, and sorrow. The mistake most people make is believing that emotions must dictate their actions, that they have no choice but to follow wherever their feelings lead them. But this is not true. You have a choice. You always have a choice. The person who is ruled by emotions is like a ship without a captain, tossed around by every storm, unable to navigate toward any destination. One moment they are happy, the next they are consumed by rage. One moment they are confident, the next they are drowning in doubt. But the person who understands that emotions are not their master remains steady. They feel everything, but they are controlled by nothing. No matter how strong the emotion, they do not act blindly. They do not let a fleeting feeling dictate permanent consequences. They recognize emotions for what they are: temporary, ever-changing, and often unreliable. And because of this understanding, they maintain control over their own mind, their own actions, and their own life. Anger is one of the most deceptive emotions. It feels powerful in the moment, like a fire demanding to be unleashed. But how often does anger lead to decisions that later bring regret? A harsh word spoken in frustration, a reckless action driven by rage. These things destroy relationships, damage reputations, and cause unnecessary pain. Anger convinces you that you must react immediately, that you must strike back, that you must prove your strength. But true strength is found in restraint. It is found in the ability to feel the anger fully, to acknowledge it, but not to be controlled by it. The person who can stand in the fire of their own anger without letting it consume them is truly powerful. They do not let their emotions dictate their response. They choose their response. And that choice makes all the difference. When anger arises, the wise person does not resist it or suppress it. They simply observe it. They let it come, and they let it go, refusing to let it make decisions for them. Fear is another emotion that seeks to control the mind. It whispers doubts. It creates hesitation. It convinces you that you are not strong enough, not capable enough, not ready. It makes you avoid challenges, hide from discomfort, and remain stuck in places you have outgrown. But fear is a liar. It is an illusion, a shadow that grows larger only when you run from it. The person who is ruled by fear will never live fully, because fear always demands avoidance. It keeps you from speaking up, from taking risks, from embracing change. But the person who understands that fear is not their master moves forward anyway. They feel the fear, but they do not obey it. They recognize that most fears are nothing more than imagined disasters that will never come true. And even when fear is justified, they do not let it dictate their choices. They act with courage, not because they are fearless, but because they refuse to let fear control them. Sadness and disappointment are emotions that can easily take over the mind if left unchecked. Life does not always go as planned. People leave, dreams fail, and sometimes things fall apart. It is natural to feel sorrow when this happens. It is natural to grieve, to feel the weight of loss. But sadness must not be allowed to settle in the heart like an unshakable burden. If you let sadness control you, it will drain your energy, rob you of your motivation, and keep you trapped in the past. The person who is not ruled by their emotions allows themselves to feel sadness, but they do not drown in it. They understand that pain is a part of life, but suffering is a choice. Instead of dwelling on what cannot be changed, they shift their focus to what can be done now. They do not let disappointment define them. They accept reality, learn from their experiences, and continue moving forward, knowing that emotions are temporary, but their actions shape their future. Even positive emotions can become dangerous if they are allowed to take control. Excitement, passion, and happiness are beautiful, but they can also cloud judgment. How many times have people made impulsive decisions in moments of joy, only to regret them later? How often does passion lead people to overcommit, to chase after illusions, to ignore warning signs? The wise person enjoys positive emotions, but they do not become reckless because of them. They understand that all emotions, good or bad, are fleeting. Just as sadness does not last forever, neither does happiness. This is not a reason to avoid joy. It is a reason to remain steady in all situations. When something wonderful happens, they appreciate it fully, but they do not lose themselves in it. They do not allow temporary excitement to make permanent choices for them. They remain centered, grounded, and always aware that emotions are waves. They rise, they fall, and they pass. What remains constant is their own ability to choose how they respond. Mastering emotions does not mean suppressing them. It does not mean becoming cold or unfeeling. It means recognizing emotions for what they are, powerful but not absolute. It means allowing yourself to feel everything, but not becoming a slave to anything. The person who is truly free is not the one who never feels fear, anger, or sadness. It is the one who feels these emotions fully and still chooses their path with clarity. They do not react impulsively. They do not make decisions based on a passing mood. They act with wisdom, knowing that emotions are visitors, not rulers. This level of control is not something that happens overnight. It requires practice, discipline, and self-awareness. But with time, the mind becomes stronger, the reactions become slower, and the power to choose becomes second nature. The person who is no longer controlled by emotions becomes unshakable. No matter what happens, no matter how intense the emotions may be, they remain in control of themselves. And in that control, they find true freedom. Life is not meant to be easy. It is full of challenges, obstacles, and unexpected difficulties. No one is exempt from struggle. At some point, you will face hardship. You will encounter failure, loss, and moments where everything feels like it is falling apart. But in these moments, you have a choice. You can see adversity as something to fear, something unfair, something that breaks you. Or you can see it as a teacher, as the very thing that forges your strength, sharpens your mind, and prepares you for the life you were meant to live. Adversity is not the enemy. It is the fire that burns away weakness. It is the hammer that shapes unformed metal into a blade. The person who understands this no longer resents difficulty. They do not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" Instead, they ask, "What can I learn from this?" They look at every hardship as a lesson, every setback as training, every difficulty as a chance to become stronger. They do not crumble when life becomes hard. They rise, they endure, and in that endurance they find power. There is a reason why the strongest people you meet are the ones who have suffered the most. Strength is not built in comfort, it is built in struggle. A person who has never faced adversity has never been tested, never been forced to grow, never had to push past their limits. They may appear strong on the outside, but the first real challenge they face will shake them to their core. On the other hand, the person who has endured hardship, who has been broken and rebuilt, who has walked through fire and survived, they are unshakable. They know that pain is temporary. They know that no matter how difficult a situation may seem, they have already survived worse. They do not fear adversity because they have learned that adversity is what shaped them into who they are. When others panic, they remain calm. When others give up, they keep moving forward. They do not wish for an easy life. They wish for the strength to handle whatever life brings. Many people spend their lives avoiding difficulty, running from hardship, trying to make everything as easy as possible. But what they fail to see is that by avoiding struggle, they also avoid growth. The person who refuses to face challenges remains weak. The person who avoids discomfort remains fragile. Growth only happens when you step outside of what is familiar, when you push through resistance, when you are forced to fight for something. Look at nature. A tree that grows in a place with no wind, no storms, no struggle, develops weak roots. The first strong wind that comes will knock it over. But a tree that has faced storms, that has been forced to dig its roots deep into the earth, stands tall no matter what comes. People are the same. The ones who have faced struggle, who have endured suffering, who have refused to give up despite the pain, those are the ones who become truly strong. The more adversity they face, the deeper their roots grow. The deeper their roots grow, the less they can be shaken. Adversity is not just a test of strength, it is also a test of character. How you respond to difficulty reveals who you truly are. Anyone can remain calm when life is easy. Anyone can be kind when everything is going their way. But what about when things fall apart? What about when nothing goes as planned? That is when your true nature is revealed. Some people let adversity turn them bitter. They become resentful, angry, full of self-pity. They blame the world, they blame others, they see themselves as victims. But others use adversity as a mirror. They look at their hardships and ask, how can this make me better? They do not allow suffering to make them cruel. They do not allow failure to make them stop trying. They do not allow pain to close their hearts. Instead, they allow it to refine them, to humble them, to teach them patience, resilience, and wisdom. They emerge from difficulty not weaker, but stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever. The greatest lessons in life are not learned in moments of comfort. They are learned in moments of struggle. Failure teaches humility. Loss teaches appreciation. Pain teaches endurance. Every difficulty contains a lesson, but only if you are willing to see it. The person who refuses to learn from hardship will keep experiencing the same struggles over and over again. They will keep making the same mistakes, falling into the same patterns, facing the same disappointments. But the person who is willing to learn from adversity grows. They take every failure and analyze it, asking themselves, what could I have done differently? They take every painful experience and extract wisdom from it. Over time, they become more skilled, more aware, more capable. They no longer fear difficulty because they know that every challenge is an opportunity to improve. And with each lesson learned, they become more powerful, more resilient, and more prepared for whatever life may bring. To truly embrace adversity as a teacher, you must stop resisting it. You must stop seeing it as something unfair, something that is happening to you, and start seeing it as something that is happening for you. Every challenge is an invitation to rise. Every hardship is an opportunity to become greater than you were before. The most successful, the most powerful, the most respected people in history all faced unimaginable struggles. They did not achieve greatness because life was easy for them. They achieved greatness because they refused to let adversity break them. They faced failures, betrayals, hardships, and pain, but they used those experiences to sharpen their minds, to toughen their spirits, to fuel their determination. They became who they were because of the challenges they faced, not despite them. They understood that adversity is not something to be feared, It is something to be embraced, something to be used, something to be transformed into fuel for greatness. True strength is not found in force, in loud words, or in quick reactions. It is found in the ability to control oneself, to remain steady in moments of anger, to resist the urge to lash out when provoked. The world teaches that power is about domination, about showing strength through aggression, about proving superiority over others. But real power is quieter. It is not in the person who yells the loudest, who strikes the hardest, who wins every argument. It is in the person who can hold back when necessary, who can remain silent when words would only create more damage, who can choose restraint even when their emotions demand otherwise. The strongest person is not the one who always fights, but the one who knows when fighting is unnecessary. They do not allow their emotions to control them, and because of that, they remain untouchable. No insult can shake them, no provocation can break their composure. They choose their actions with wisdom, never letting temporary feelings dictate permanent consequences. That level of control is rare, but it is the mark of true strength. Restraint is not weakness, it is not cowardice. It takes far more strength to remain calm in the face of disrespect than it does to react with anger. Anyone can give in to rage. Anyone can strike back when they feel attacked, but to pause, to breathe, to let the moment pass without reacting emotionally, that requires immense discipline. It requires control over the self, the most difficult form of control to master. The person who lacks restraint is a slave to their impulses. They are easily provoked, easily manipulated, easily led into actions that do not serve them. But the person who practices restraint is free. They are not controlled by their emotions or by the actions of others. They dictate their own behavior, making decisions based on reason rather than impulse. That kind of self-mastery is what separates the strong from the weak. It is what allows a person to remain unshaken, to move through life with confidence and clarity, never letting fleeting emotions determine their fate. There is a common belief that to be strong, one must always respond, always defend, always prove themselves. But true strength does not need to be proven. A person who is truly strong knows who they are. They do not need validation from others. They do not need to react to every insult, every challenge, every provocation. Their confidence is not fragile. It does not depend on winning arguments or putting others in their place. They understand that silence is often more powerful than words, that walking away is often a greater show of strength than engaging in conflict. They do not waste energy on meaningless battles. They reserve their strength for the moments that truly matter, and because of that, their strength grows. While others exhaust themselves reacting to every little thing, the person who practices restraint conserves their power, using it only when it is truly needed. That is the difference between someone who is ruled by emotion and someone who rules over themselves. Restraint is a skill that must be developed. It does not come naturally. The instinct to react is strong, deeply ingrained through years of habit and conditioning. But with practice, restraint becomes a choice, a mindset, a way of life. The first step is awareness, recognizing when emotions are trying to take control, when anger is rising, when pride is demanding a response. In those moments, the simple act of pausing changes everything. A single breath, a moment of silence, a brief pause before speaking or acting. These small acts of restraint are what create true power. Over time, the pause becomes longer, the emotional reaction weaker. Eventually, a person reaches a point where nothing can provoke them easily. Insults lose their sting, criticism no longer wounds, external events no longer dictate inner peace. That level of self-control is not achieved overnight, but it is worth the person who masters restraint masters themselves, and the person who masters themselves masters life. In relationships, restraint is the foundation of peace. How many friendships, marriages, and family bonds have been destroyed by words spoken in anger? How many people have regretted things they said in a moment of frustration, things they cannot take back? It is easy to let emotions take over, to say something sharp, to act out of pride or resentment. But the strongest relationships are built on patience, on the ability to pause before speaking, to choose words carefully, to hold back when necessary. The person who practices restraint does not allow temporary emotions to cause permanent damage. They understand that winning an argument is not worth losing a relationship. They know that their words have power, and they use that power wisely. Instead of reacting with anger, they respond with understanding. Instead of escalating conflict, they de-escalate it, and in doing so they create stability, trust, and lasting respect. Restraint is also a form of discipline in daily life. It is not just about controlling anger or resisting conflict, it is about mastering every aspect of oneself. It is the ability to resist temptation, to stay focused, to avoid distractions. It is the ability to say no to impulses that do not serve a greater purpose. The person who practices restraint does not waste time on meaningless pursuits. They do not let laziness take over. They do not indulge in every passing desire. They set a goal, they remain disciplined, and they do not allow short-term pleasures to interfere with long-term success. This level of restraint is what separates those who achieve great things from those who do not. It is what allows a person to build something meaningful, to stay committed, to follow through on their plans even when motivation fades. The world is full of distractions, full of temptations, full of opportunities to take the easy path. But the person who understands the power of restraint does not waver. They stay on their path, unwavering, focused, and unstoppable. Inner peace is not something that happens by accident. It does not come from luck, from circumstance, or from waiting for life to become easier. It is something that must be built, something that must be trained like a muscle, something that requires daily effort and discipline. The world is full of noise, full of distractions, full of situations that test patience, composure, and self-control. Without training, the mind becomes weak, easily disturbed by external events, easily thrown off balance by difficulties and disappointments. But the person who trains daily for inner peace strengthens their mind against these disturbances. They develop the ability to remain calm in chaos, to remain steady when things do not go as planned, to maintain clarity even when emotions try to take over. This is not a skill that appears overnight. It must be cultivated with intention, with daily practice, with the understanding that inner peace is not given, it is earned. The stronger the practice, the deeper the peace. The deeper the peace, the less the world can shake it. Training for inner peace begins in the mind. Every day, there are countless opportunities to react, to become frustrated, to allow stress to take control. The untrained mind reacts to every little disturbance. Traffic causes irritation, a rude comment sparks anger, an unexpected problem creates anxiety. But the trained mind does not react so easily. It observes, it pauses. It understands that external events are just that, external. They do not have power unless they are given power. The person who trains for inner peace learns to separate what happens around them from what happens within them. They do not let minor inconveniences disturb their calm. They do not allow negative people to control their emotion. They do not waste energy on things they cannot control. Instead, they focus only on what is within their power, their thoughts, their reactions, their perspective. This practice, repeated daily, builds unshakable mental strength. Discipline is the foundation of inner peace. The mind, like the body, must be exercised consistently. Just as a weak body cannot handle physical strain, a weak mind cannot handle emotional strain. But through training, both become stronger. The person who seeks inner peace must create habits that reinforce it, moments of silence, moments of reflection, moments of intentional stillness. They do not let the day control them, they control the day. They start each morning with clarity, setting their intentions, preparing their mind for whatever may come. They take time to disconnect from distractions, to sit in stillness, to remind themselves that no matter what happens, they have the power to choose how they respond. These small acts of discipline may seem simple, but they have a profound effect. Over time, the mind becomes conditioned to remain steady. Stressful situations lose their power. Unexpected difficulties are met with composure. The world may still be chaotic, but within there is peace. Patience is a critical part of training for inner peace. The person who is always in a rush, who is always chasing after something, who is always demanding instant results, will never be at peace. True peace comes from accepting that everything happens in its own time, that not everything is under one's control, that the pace of life cannot always be forced. The trained mind does not resist reality, it works with it. It does not become agitated when things take longer than expected, when people do not behave as desired, when situations unfold in unpredictable ways. Instead, it remains patient. It understands that frustration changes nothing. It understands that inner peace is found not in forcing the world to move faster, but in moving with the world, in accepting what is, in focusing on what can be done without being disturbed by what cannot. This patience, cultivated daily, transforms the way life is experienced. It removes unnecessary stress, it eliminates pointless frustration, it creates space for clarity and calm. Another essential part of training for inner peace is the ability to let go. Most people carry unnecessary burdens, grudges, regrets, worries about the past, fears about the future. These things weigh on the mind, creating tension, creating restlessness, creating inner turmoil. The person who seeks peace must learn to release them. They must understand that the past cannot be changed, that the future is uncertain, that holding on to things beyond control serves no purpose. Each day they must remind themselves to let go of what does not serve them. They do not dwell on mistakes. They do not hold on to resentment. They do not allow fear to dictate their actions. They focus only on the present moment, on what can be done now, on what is within their control. The ability to let go is not easy, but it is necessary. It clears the mind, it lightens the heart, it makes room for peace to grow. Training for inner peace also requires the ability to embrace discomfort. Many people believe that peace means avoiding difficulty, avoiding hardship, avoiding anything that causes stress or discomfort. But this is a misunderstanding. True peace is not found in avoiding struggle. It is found in facing it with the right mindset. The person who avoids discomfort remains weak. The person who embraces it becomes strong. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice calmness. Every difficulty is a chance to strengthen resilience. Instead of seeing struggles as obstacles, the trained mind sees them as lessons. Instead of resisting discomfort, it accepts it. This approach changes everything. Problems no longer feel overwhelming. Stress no longer feels unbearable. Peace is no longer dependent on perfect conditions. It becomes something internal, something unshakable, something that exists no matter what happens externally. The final aspect of training for inner peace is gratitude. The untrained mind focuses on what is missing, on what is wrong, on what is lacking. This creates endless dissatisfaction, endless restlessness, endless frustration. But the trained mind focuses on what is present, on what is good, on what is enough. Each day, it makes a habit of recognizing the small things: breath, warmth, light, the ability to experience another moment. This shift in focus transforms the way life is experienced. It removes the constant feeling of needing more. It replaces stress with appreciation, frustration with contentment, restlessness with fulfillment. Gratitude does not ignore challenges. It simply does not let them overshadow what is already good. It is a daily practice, a daily choice, a daily exercise in shifting the mind toward peace. And the more it is practiced, the more natural it becomes. So the next time life tests you, when someone insults you, when plans fall apart, when the unexpected happens, smile. Not because it is easy, but because you are prepared, because you have trained for this moment, because you refuse to be a prisoner of emotion. Stay calm, stay unshaken, train your mind, and nothing will ever have power over you again. Thank you.